Welcome everybody to the originally it was called the Positive Review Accelerator. I've made it plural. We're going to talk about three different accelerators today. So let's get into it. This shouldn't take too long. So what we're going to cover today is why Google reviews matter. It might be a little different than you expect. The simple reason your restaurant doesn't have way more reviews, the prerequisite for accelerating reviews powerfully, and then I'll cover the three accelerator systems. So why Google reviews? It isn't just about Google reviews. It's ultimately about reputation. And if you were at the last session, we talked about the 4R framework that every bar and restaurant, cafe, hotel, et cetera, needs to optimize for growth. And these are the 4Rs that most people just leave to chance. And the bedrock of the entire thing is your reputation. How are you protecting and enhancing your reputation? So this is a quote I shared last time from our old friend, Warren Buffett. It takes 20 years to build a reputation, 5 minutes to ruin it. Think about that and you'll do things differently. So we've all heard about reputation management, but what is reputation management? It is the process of proactively being the keyword, using tools, processes, and systems to be aware of and influence the perception of our businesses in the marketplace.
Can I add one more word to that, Kyle? Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Let's say proactively and consistently using those tools, right? So if you're not constantly monitoring it and you're not constantly doing it every day, it's really easy for it to slip. Sorry, I just thought that's an important one we should throw in.
No. Yeah. Please interject at any time. Yeah. And if anyone has anything to say, fire it in the comments, put your hand up, whatever. We'll this is open. So reviews are at the center of search, and not just search, but also maps. Okay. So, and if you are going to optimize for just one thing this year, it would be review velocity, because the greater your review velocity, the higher you will show up both in search and maps. Okay. And this is how most people are discovering our businesses, our restaurants today. And so if you focus on optimizing just one thing in 2022, this one thing, review velocity, will grow your business. Okay. So I like it when we can make things nice and simple like that. 91% of consumers choose to do business based on online feedback, especially in our industry. I don't think that's a secret. That's nothing new.
And so let me just ask a question there, Kyle, on that stat. Let's talk about what some of the online feedbacks are, right? So Google reviews being one of them, but also, there's lots of positive ones like social media mentions or friends' stories, things like that. Like if I see a dish, like I just posted a great meal I had at the public market today in my story, and hopefully people will see that, go, man, that looks good. And the next time they're in the area, they're like, man, remember that meal I saw? That looked amazing, So I think it's, people need to realize that it's more than just reviews, right? And there's definitely some people in our community that have had some negative experience with reviews. Yelp being one of the more prolific offenders of that kind of negative side of things, I think. And so I think one of the ways to combat those shitty Yelpy reviews are to make sure that you're focused on all the other positive ways that customers get online feedback, because if you get nine of the 10 things are positive and you got the one shitty one, it's sure a lot better than just having the shitty one be the only one that's up.
Totally. And let's say, for example, sometimes there are restaurants whose Yelp listing is the first thing that shows up on Google. Well, this is one way to combat that. If you can, if you are focusing on increasing the velocity of Google reviews, your Google My Business listing will begin to surpass that. So there are definitely all kinds of different ways, systems you can architect and engineer to improve your reputation. I love starting with Google reviews though.
It's a great point to start from. And it's a way better plan than working with Yelp directly as your only source. So
100%. So here's Mo. Why do you think restaurants don't have more reviews in general than what they do? Way more.
Well, I know the answer to this question. It's really, really simple. Yeah. It's because they're not asking for them. It's
that's right.
That was not planned for the people that are watching this, but that is rule number one. of
Yeah.
getting feedback. If you don't ask, people aren't going to tell you. Most people feel uncomfortable bringing it up, and a good solid 2/3 of the population are extremely polite, and we always end up dealing with that 1/3 that aren't. But the vast majority of people here, and especially the vast majority of the customers we want, keep their opinions to themselves unless you ask. So
exactly. And so at this point in this presentation, I believe you have two really simple yet powerful things to grow your business. If all you do is focus on optimizing for Google review velocity, A, and B, engineer systems to ask your guests and customers for those reviews, you will grow your business. Like if you just do those two things. So now before we get into three systems that you can implement to get more reviews, there's just one prerequisite here. And this is the prerequisite to accelerate reviews powerfully. Okay. So that prerequisite is you must have a way to capture guest data. Okay. If it's just a transaction every single time someone comes to your establishment, you hand them the ice cream cone, you get their payment, but you don't also get their data. You are doing like three things that are just sort of long-term, very detrimental to your business. One is you're leaving your growth to chance. Okay. So what I mean by that is you're dependent solely on factors that are outside of your influence. So for example, maybe you're just relying on organic social media algorithms, which change like every minute. Or maybe you're constantly relying on having to pay for ads to reach new people. Or maybe you're relying on organic word of mouth, which you can, like, it's great, that's awesome. But if you don't have guest data, you can't influence word of mouth. Whereas if you do have your guest data, you can. And that's awesome. So were you gonna say something?
Here's one other thing that you're leaving to when you talk about leaving to chance. And I think this is probably one of the biggest factors of chance. We're talking about customers. Customers change their mind every minute of the day, right? One day they love muffins. The next day, muffins are the worst food on the planet, right? Or one day they think that you've got the best cocktails in the city, and the next day, maybe there's a cooler spot that is more popular, right? That's the kind of chance that you can mitigate with a proper system in place to drive reviews and to attract those new customers, right?
100%. And finally, you're not building what could become the most valuable asset in your entire business. People buy businesses exclusively sometimes for their customer lists and customer data. So, and like one of my missions is to help restaurateurs make their businesses ultimately sellable. Okay. And so what that means is like, what often happens is maybe they'll sell it to an employee or something. But the problem with selling to an employee is oftentimes you're dealing with someone who doesn't have the equity to give you like favorable financing terms. So there's like, you're talking about earnouts and this and that. Whereas if you build systems like your customer list and other systems, you make it more sellable. So you'll attract professional investors, which means that they can give you their money and you can go off in the sunset. So slight tangent there, but this customer list, having a way to stay in touch and have conversations with people who have been to your business is like, it's a prerequisite. So if you don't have that in place, I would maybe just like, maybe tune out the rest of this or like, just like go focus on doing that. So does that add up there, Mo? Make sense?
Yeah, I think that adds up 100%. It used to be that, the restaurateur, would know the names of every customer in their bar all the time or their restaurant. And you'd see them walking from table to table and telling stories and connecting with people. And, how are your kids, Jim? And hey, how about that baseball game, Mary? And all of those things. And that still exists, but you can take it farther now in some of these conversations online. And building those relationships in the digital space as well as the real world space should be a focus for anyone, especially, God, I can't stress this enough, coming out of the pandemic, when we don't know if there's going to be another shutdown again. We don't know if there's going to be another pivot. And obviously, we don't want those things to happen. But man, if we've learned anything in the last 2 years, it's be ready for anything and have this toolkit that can apply to any situation. So this is one that I think we've seen a lot of growth in, and we can grow a lot farther and do a lot more with. So especially online takeout orders and things like that, right? We need to keep building on the tools to support those businesses that we've created over the last couple of years.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, like if we break down what actually drives reviews, it's three units, right? It's the before unit, it's the during unit. So like touching tables, like you're mentioning, and then the after unit. And what we're trying to solve for with this presentation is primarily the after unit, but also the before unit, because they cycle into each other. So whereas most restaurants are just focusing on the during unit, what happens in their four walls. So
for sure.
yeah.
And for counter service restaurants, they might have 15 to 20 seconds with each customer. And so these become really, really important systems. Because if that point of interaction is the 15 seconds that person's ordering a coffee and a bagel from you, and then the time it takes for them to wait for said coffee and bagel, right? There's some things that you can put in place to make sure you're getting reviews, make sure your reviews are positive, make sure your staff is trained on the right way to ask, and so people don't feel uncomfortable. So Kyle, I'll let you take it away, but I think people are starting to get the understanding here of why this piece specifically is so important to the overall strategy when we're looking at recovery.
Totally. And that's a great segue. You mentioned training staff. So now we'll get into the 3 positive review accelerators. This is not exhaustive. These are just like 3, simple things that you can do, 3 ideas that you can go and implement to begin influencing.
And if you come up with your own, like, do us a favor, hop into this thread on the Victoria Hospitality Industry group, get in there and put up your ideas. Tell us about your success stories and continue to develop this resource for everybody in our community, because that's what this is all about. And we're all working together. So we're going to give you 3 ideas today. Kyle has graciously put these together for everybody, but if you've got your own, let us know. Okay.
Yeah. Let's collaborate here. So, I've broken them down into, so the first one is dead simple. The second one is simple. The third one's, it's actually not that advanced, but maybe some people might find it a little advanced. I just want to say, like, if you see anything in here and you're like, oh, I'm not, like, I don't know the tech or something, just hit Mo up, hit myself up. Like, I'll get on a screen share with you. I'll walk you through this stuff. I'm a big proponent of getting results in advance. Okay. So don't let any of the tech stuff slow you down. Just ask us for help. We'll give it to you. Okay. So the dead simple review accelerator is to train your team, like Mo said. So what does this look like? Literally give them a script. Don't leave this to chance. Maybe you come up with 3 scripts. Maybe you have one 20-minute session on Zoom with your team to say, hey folks, today we're going to train you on what you got to say at the point of sale to encourage, in this case, we're encouraging reviews, but maybe you want to encourage repeat visits or something else. But it just had something simple like, hey, so I'm a clerk or a server, and I'm like, hey guys, if you enjoyed your time with us today, it actually means a lot. If you left a review on Google, it really helps us out. Thanks. Have a great night. We'll see you next time. Something like that. But just, you need to engineer this stuff into like what your staff says, because most of what we do as restaurateurs is we rely on their bubbly personality or this and that. And so, those are valuable things, but like engineer, the beginning of the guest experience and the end of the guest experience in your 4 walls so that, you can have like more of the outcomes that you want. Does this add up, Mo?
Yeah, it adds up. And, the other thing I just want to say, when you're doing your training, just as a, it's great to talk it over with your staff, but the other tool that I really like to use is role play, right? And get your staff to walk you through it. Do the walkthroughs, right? Have your team work with each other, practice it. Man, half an hour could result in a 10 or 15% increase in sales each day of the week if you do this right. So I know these seem like simple things. I know everyone's exhausted right now and your teams are at max and everybody's there. But when we're talking about recovery, training and teaching these new pieces has to be a part of your program. We have all been coasting and just trying to stay, head above water for the last couple of years. We're going to have to find a little bit of another gear to push us forward out of this. If you guys need help with training, reach out to me, reach out to Kyle. There's a lot of people in town here that do great trainings, and I'd be happy to connect you with all of them and find the right fit to help you with training for your team if it's not something you want to do. But role play. That would be the only thing I would add to that.
Yeah. And just, a reminder of what the hospitality recovery toolkit is all about. This is about playing offense, right? So it's about no longer selling. It's about no longer selling from our heels and being defensive, like many of us, understandably were in the, during the pandemic. This is about like, let's start, charging into battle here for our businesses, right? So, so to take action on this, it could be as simple as like, just literally copy and paste this and just send an email to your team saying, hey folks, this is what we're saying. We're going to follow up with some kind of a role playing training, et cetera, et cetera. But you have to like, put a line in the sand and say like, this is a mandatory thing for us to be saying. It's, so anyways, okay. So that was the dead simple. This one's simple, and it is where you execute a follow-up campaign. So you're going to reach out to people who have come to your establishment in the last 30 days. And again, the prerequisite here is you need to have a way to capture guest data. Maybe it's most point of sale systems make this really easy. It's just like ask for their email. You could manually ask for their email. Obviously, if you have a reservation system like 7 Rooms or something like that, Open Table, those all are capturing guest data as well.
So yeah, that's another example. I mean, the other thing too, if we're going to go kind of binary here, real simple, print a business card, put a funny saying on it, put a coupon on the business card, and set it up so that when they turn the coupon in, you just get their contact info. Anything that you can. The most important step here in this specific version of what Kyle's talking about is capturing the information to contact the person again, so you can send them an email or however you want to go about connecting with them. But think up a creative way to build your contact list.
100%. So, okay. So, assuming that prerequisite is met, here's what a follow-up campaign that we've tested that works well looks like. Okay. So, there are 3 goals with this. One is we want to show them that we are caring human beings. 2, we obviously want to get more Google reviews. 3, we want to bring them back with a friend. Okay. Now that part's optional, but I'll show you what we like to do. Okay. So the first step, this is really easy. Okay. You're just going to go into your customer list. You're going to segment it out based off of people who've been in the last 30 days. That's usually very easy. Again, if you need help with the tech, reach out to one of us. We'll help you out.
And if it's not technology based, you can do it just by literally having a 30-day list, right? Like, a clipboard or whatever the non-technical version of this is. Please, we're going to talk about technology today, but I know a lot of smaller places aren't using technology as much, and you don't have to use technology for this to work. I need that to be very clear.
Yeah, it'll definitely make your life easier, but thank you, Mo. Like, you can go super like old school and just pen and paper. That's all you need to start collecting your guest data. Okay.
So it doesn't have to be every guest. Collect 1 of 10, right? And 30 days, that's 40 customers to talk to, right? Like, you can, there's plenty of reasons to say, oh, this is too much work or whatever. Man, this little bit of effort that you'll make will go such a long way.
Totally. So here's just a screenshot. I'm in my own, customer relationship management tool. I'm exporting my list. Easy. So you do that. You export it as a CSV file. Step 2, you are going to send that list of people. So you'll upload it to your email marketing tool, and you're going to send them a campaign that goes something like this. Hey, first name, Fred here, owner of your restaurant. I saw you visited last month and wanted to say thanks. There are a ton of great spots in town, so it means a lot that you chose us. Cheers, Fred. Now, note, it doesn't ask for anything. You're not asking for anything, okay? And because it is, I call it authenticity at scale, you will get some responses like this. Hey, Fred, you bet, we had a great time. Appreciate your message. What you can then do is you can either manually, or you can actually automate a message that goes out 5 minutes later that says something. For anyone who responds, you'll automatically send the following 5 minutes later. Hey, first name, thanks for your reply. Just had a couple other thoughts. If you could let the Google overlords know how you feel, it'd mean a lot, LOL. If you want to come back with a friend over the next 30 days, show your server this email and get a buy one, get one entree or whatever, any offer. Till soon, Fred, owner of your restaurant. Okay. The Google Overlords link will take them directly to where they just need to write the review, put their star rating down, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, and so let me just be really clear here. I think the thing that I'm taking from this, Kyle, let me know if this is what you're going for. Man, this works so much better if it's conversational, right? Yes. And it's lighthearted, you know, and it doesn't feel salesy, you know. It's not like, tell me what you think, come spend more money with me. It's, hey, we care about you, and you know, haha, Google's so big, and you know, here's a deal for you because we love you, right? And man, your local guy that goes table to table, that's me. I'm Fred. Nice to see you. So remember I talked about going table to table? What we're doing is we're talking about going table to table in a digital sense. And you know, the Google Overlords joke, whether it's that or whether it's like, hey, just, you know, fire us a line on Google or you know, tell me how you really feel. You know, there's lots of different ways to say it. And I think I don't want people to get caught up in the specific details, but think of the general tone and the execution that Kyle's teaching us right now, because it's so important.
Oh, yeah. And what the hell was I going to say?
Was I right about that though, Kyle? We were talking about a conversational tone.
Yes. You are spot on. Oh man, there was something I was going to say, but I forgot. I know it was related to what you were saying, but okay, maybe it'll come back to me. Because there was like, those were excellent points, and there was, oh man. Okay. Google. Oh yeah. So the thing is like a lot of reservation systems, they'll send out messages like this for you kind of automatically, which is awesome. The problem is it feels automatic, right? And that's like part of what you're saying about we're taking those table touches and we're doing them like, you know, at scale or in a digital way. Like if you can sound like a real person, it's going to work so much better than just the automated cookie cutter things that POS systems will send out. So yeah, that's what I want.
And I think it's important to remember too, like, so when I know I get so many notifications now when I do stuff every day. I probably get 300 notifications a day. Every app I interact with sends me some kind of ping or follow-up or whatever. And so, you know, I think if I was to, you know, use an online reservation system or contact a restaurant through their website and get an automatic follow-up, I mean, 9 out of 10 times I don't read them, to be honest with you, because I know it's an automatic thing. It's my brain is programmed to think that way. But totally. When you've gone somewhere and you're not expecting an email and you get a lovely email from the restaurant that's like, hey, we just wanted to check in. You know, we know you were here and that's awesome. You know, like that kind of thing. It's still that great conversational way, and it feels like you're special, you know, if I'm kind of, you know, it feels like you're a priority to the business. And that means a lot coming from a customer who, you know, is a pretty avid consumer out there. Man, when somebody sends me a note to check in, like last night I bought a bottle of wine for a friend on their birthday, and the restaurant emailed me back this morning, just said, hey, just to let you know, we did that for you and they loved it, and we just wanted to say thanks. That was really cool because I didn't expect them to do that, nor do they need to, and it made a big difference to me. And I know that the next time I'm at that restaurant, and it's in another city, which is why I'm not mentioning it, I will be going there to sit down and have a drink at the bar and spend some money, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, like, especially, you know, you mentioned how bombarded we are with messaging today. Like half the battle of this marketing thing is breaking patterns and, you know, not being like everyone else essentially. So yeah, love that.
Just to simplify just go through it one last time. I just want to talk it through. So Kyle's just taught us that this simple way to do it is to have a conversation with your customer after they've left in a very light, friendly, approachable way. And ask for the feedback while adding value, right? So those are the really key steps. You don't just ask for feedback, you ask for feedback and then you add value. And like you said, this is actually part of your marketing now, and you're bringing back additional customers in addition to the customer you already have, right? And the other thing this gives you an opportunity is if the feedback isn't good, it gives you an opportunity to fix it, save the relationship. If you're not asking, people are not always having good relationships with your business, and you lose the customer. So the best thing you can do to save that is ask. So keep asking, and you'll get a different result.
Yeah. And while they might not tell you about their bad experience, they'll tell lots of other people. So yeah, this is about like, like hitting it off at the pass, and yeah, and bringing in a referral as well. So this really like you're killing many birds with one stone here. Okay, so that's a follow-up campaign. Okay. Next is retargeting. It sounds fancy, but it's actually super simple. Well, what is, yeah.
I was just going to say this, so it looks like you're gonna for in plain English for everyone that learns, and just so we're clear, my role here is just to reparrot back Kyle's stuff in the plainest English possible for people like me that don't understand this shit. So I'm glad everybody is paying attention. We're so lucky to have Kyle here as the expert, but he's going to explain it to us in a way that we can understand.
Yeah, and you're very good at. Yeah, I really appreciate. You're very good at that, at simplifying. Yeah. So retargeting is just where you serve ads to anyone who's engaged with your content, who's been to your website, who's watched your videos, and they've been to your or they have been to your establishment. So you remember how we talked early on about you got to capture their guest data. Well, what you can do on just about any ad platform is you can literally upload your customer list, and you can serve ads just to your customers. Like, isn't that like, does that blow your mind, Mo? Like, I don't know. I still like,
yeah. Oh man, don't even get me started. I was working on some ad campaigns last year where we were dropping pins on franchise locations. And every time customers were walking into other franchises, competing franchises, they were getting served with ads on their phone for our franchise, right? So, I'm at location A, and I'm getting an ad for location B, the competitor, right? And a discount. Here's a coupon if you want to shop at location B instead of location A. This is so advanced now, and so having an agency like GuestGetter with Kyle work with you on projects like this, at least when you're getting started, is really recommended. But what I will say is we've all experienced this, and we have all made purchasing decisions because of this. I think the analogy to use here, we jokingly talk about Facebook listening to us or Instagram listening to us. It's like everybody has had that experience where you've talked about something and then you've experienced an ad for it in the nearby time frame. And what that actually is that you'll be experiencing something, and it'll be in your mindset, right? So I'm walking through, let's say, like I'm at the Victoria Public Market today. So I'm walking through the Victoria Public Market, and I see a restaurant that I'm interested in, and then I get an ad for that restaurant later, and I'm like, man, I was just talking about that restaurant to my friend. Oh, it's listening to me. No, what it is it's using things like location data or an interaction with that digital media of that brand, and using it to drive your ad choices. And it's a really powerful tool. The biggest brands in the world have been using it for more than a decade, and now it's accessible through retargeting platforms built into the softwares that you already use, like Facebook and Instagram and Google, in a way that we can all access it without having to, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars like the big brands do, right? So
yeah, totally. And like some people get a little like, and I they're like two sides of the coin, right? Like some people are like, oh, that feels like an invasion of my privacy. Well, I would have to say to that person, then you shouldn't be using that platform, because that is how that platform survives, is by putting or directing your attention to advertisers, and that is how they survive. So maybe just don't use the platform. But I view advertising as service. So it's like, you're going to see the ads anyways. Would you rather see something that is completely irrelevant, or would you rather see something that you will find useful, relevant, and could possibly, change your life over the, the long term? So that's yeah.
I mean, Kyle, I got a question for you, and maybe you know the answer, or maybe I'm giving you some homework, but let's throw this up in the comments for this session, okay?
Sure.
What is the percentage or increase in sales for businesses when they use a retargeting campaign? Like, how effective are retargeting campaigns to drive purchasing decisions? Because I think that's an important stat to know, is regular ad campaign versus a retargeting campaign. How much more effective are retargeting campaigns, right? It's like asking the person to buy it the first time and then asking them again and again and again to buy it.
Yeah. So two things I can tell you from my own experience. One is there is always an ROI on retargeting, like always. Whereas sometimes when you're doing top of the funnel stuff, and I haven't experienced this in bars and restaurants, we always get a return on investment, like always. And I believe a big part of the reason for that is because the competition is so low. Plus we make compelling magnetic offers. But the other thing is that most people, the stat I think is most people don't even consider buying from your business until they've seen some form of media from you 7 times on average. And it's at that point where they're like, oh, like it takes them 7 times to see something before they're like it actually truly registers to the point where they consider making a decision. So if we look at the advertising we're already doing, like I want to, for example, let's take print, like just like a magazine, and you have an ad in there. Well, like it, and it's not, it all works. It all orchestrates and it works together. But if you're going to invest in that, okay, like you also want to be investing in the digital stuff. Like they work together well,
Sure.
I'd say.
Yeah.
But like in print, folks are probably just going to see that ad. Like I would pick up a magazine, look at it maybe once, and that's it. Right. So what were you going to say, Mo?
No, I was just agreeing with you. I was saying, I come from an advertising background, for those that don't know, and I worked in ad agencies for years in Vancouver. And when I started, it was in the 2000s, right? So I was around when the beginning of Facebook and Instagram were kind of just getting started, and people laughed at them, to be honest with you. I had business owners where I was marketing director of hospitality businesses that wouldn't invest in those things and literally would tell me that they were a waste of money while we were getting started. And at that time, if you didn't have an ad in the Georgia Straight magazine, which is like Monday Magazine here, or you didn't have print ads running in the Province and the Sun, you really you didn't exist. And even if we were doing a lot of live music then, so if we didn't have a weekly live music ad running in the newspaper in the Georgia Straight, no one would come to our shows, and that was the primary focus, was that print ad each week and then getting print coverage. Now here we are with that, whatever that is, like 15 years later. That's absolutely gone the other way around, and the primary focus should absolutely be digital. It's where everything is. And so this extra little thing that you can add to your digital work is retargeting, which is so effective. So Kyle and I are going to do some research, and we're going to find out how much more effective your campaign is when you add retargeting. And we're going to throw it up in the comments of this session as a way to do that. If you guys have more questions about that stuff, please feel free to jump into those comments and hit us with the questions, or direct message us if you'd rather talk privately. But we are trying to create a resource here for people and help them understand all the different aspects of some basic things you can do to get better reviews. So, your retargeting campaign is a great way to do that, Kyle. So thank you for bringing these up.
Yeah, totally. I want to simplify this even more. So there's this little soundbite that I like remember to underpin essentially everything that I do. And that is attention equals opportunity and revenue. Okay. So attention equals opportunity and revenue. Obscurity equals death. And this, like, I've experienced this when I'm not like actively doing like anything like this, or,
Sure.
I'm like, oh, we like our SEO is, well, I mean, our, like for Nibble Bar Company, for example, we actually do have that's how we get our attention primarily, is through search engine optimization. People just come to our website, boom, and Google ads. So, but when early on, when no one knows you exist, like nothing's going on, and nothing happens in business until a sale is made. So and so I have this theory that if you just, and this is maybe a flawed theory, but if you just invest in getting more attention, you will see growth. So like it's like we were talking about the print ads. Sure, do the print ads, but you try the radio stuff. Like all this stuff will orchestrate and work together. But if you just like optimize for getting more attention, you will see it drop down to the like top line and the bottom line. Does that make sense?
I have a great, this makes a lot of sense. And I have a great analogy for this, a real world example that's pandemic related to kind of button up everything that we talked about today. So when Kyle's talking about the attention side of this, my sister's out in Toronto, and she owns with a couple of partners some fairly well-known cocktail bars out there. And the situation in Ontario has been way worse than it has in BC. It's been bad out here, but in Ontario, they've been shut down, over and over and over again, completely. When they were opened up, they were only allowed outdoor patios, and you can imagine the wintertime in Ontario trying to serve people, margaritas on a patio in the snow is not exactly an easy thing to do. And so when you built a following around your bars and then you're closed, you're heading towards obscurity very quickly, right? And my sister actually has a background in PR for many years for film and movies and fashion. And so they jumped into a number of things for that. So the first thing they did was they put together a ghost kitchen restaurant called West Side Maria's as a play on East Side Mario's. And then they hit the media hard, and they ended up on the cover of the Toronto Star in an article about pivoting, and it was just that idea of like getting out there, doing something, doing anything, but then talking about it to everybody, because attention equals, as Kyle says, you got to get the attention. And then when they got shut down again, the next thing they did, this was really fun. They have karaoke rooms in one of their bars, and people were canceling weddings. And one of their karaoke rooms is themed after Las Vegas. So they put together a Las Vegas themed wedding package with an Elvis impersonator and the whole 9 yards for small private groups that fit within the regulations. And again, they went out to the media and they started talking about this pivot. And that got, and they weren't cheap packages, right? It wasn't necessarily to drive revenue for selling wedding packages. It was to create attention, which now that they've reopened, they've had their strong, and that was, 3-4 weeks ago was their strongest revenue that they've ever seen in the businesses, even before the pandemic, right? And some of that's people, getting excited about coming back out again, but because they didn't allow go into obscurity, because they kept people's attention up when the reopening came back, they were able to start their recovery process. And so there's a lot of smaller operations here in town that probably makes up 75% of the marketplace in Victoria is smaller restaurant operations, 60 to 75%, I would say. And the most important thing you can do is keep visible to your customers, right? And create demand for the attention, and that comes from the consistency stuff we've been talking about last week. And that comes from, the things you can do to drive reviews like we've been talking about today. So, I really encourage everyone to really take a minute, sit down with your coffee in the morning, give yourself a time to think about the things you can do to follow Kyle's suggestions here about creating attention to your brand.
Totally. Awesome. So I'll just give you I'll show you what this, so for example, you can go into your Facebook ad platform and you can create what's called a custom audience. We won't get into, I swear to God, if you guys want help, I will share my screen with you. I'll walk you through it. You don't have to pay me because I'm all about results in advance. So just don't let this tech stuff scare you. It's not that hard. Okay. So you upload.
Kyle's going to walk you through it in person. And what you need to do is just reach out, we'll get this stuff going. Yeah.
Yeah. But so you upload a customer list. Here I whipped up a quick ad for my own company. It could look something like, thanks again for visiting us. It'd mean a lot if you could share it with Victoria, aka the Google overlords. So it really is a very similar thing to your follow-up campaign, but you're hitting them with ads. And then this will, just like your follow-up campaign, it'll take them directly to where they go to leave the review. So you're removing friction, right? This is the thing, friction is a killer, right? And so at every step of the process, when we want someone to take specific actions, we got to think about, okay, how can I take the friction away? So that's what we're doing here. And that's all I got. So I do.
I don't know if that's all you got. I think that's really great information that people need to know, right? So the number one thing, if you're going to take anything away from today, anything at all, and Kyle's giving you 3 different ways to do this. If you want to accelerate your review process, ask for feedback, find creative ways to do it, offer value while you're doing it, but you have to ask, because if you don't, people are going to have those opinions and they're going to share them with their friends and you're not going to know. and it's going to become a liability instead of something that can accelerate and drive your business as we recover. So important info today. Hit Kyle up at guestgetter.co. Hit me up on the DMs anytime you want. And I really recommend signing up for this Guest Getter newsletter. It's been a really awesome read every week. I don't know how Kyle finds the time to do this, but it's something else. I really appreciate your time, Kyle. Thank you for today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, guys. Yeah, we'll catch you at the next one. Hey.
Yeah, right on. And yeah, stay tuned. 2 weeks, we got another one coming up, and then we're going to release a new series. We've been looking at our times, and we're going to see about what works best for everybody, and we're going to get more people involved. Thank you.
Thank you.